Before my husband's promotion, his adopted son knelt down and begged me to divorce him, because I had been pregnant out of wedlock, which was a stain on his record. For my husband's future, I had to leave with nothing and ended up as a shoe shiner on the street. My ex-husband, with deep affection, held his new wife's hand and said, "After 20 years of grievance, I can finally give you a proper status." The adopted son's eyes welled up with tears. Dad finally got rid of someone he didn't love. The hardships are over, and now comes the sweetness. No one can stand in the way of our family reunion. I stormed forward, furious, to confront him. My ex-husband retorted, "Although your father did me a favor by promoting me, you also made me wear a green hat for 20 years, we're even now." I was literally infuriated to death. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the time when I found out I was pregnant. "In that case, you might as well wear that green hat, ugh." As I turned my head to vomit, a trembling voice asked, "Are you pregnant?" I looked up and saw Yi Xiangdong in his green military uniform, his young face filled with anxiety and fear. He held my hand tightly and whispered, "Fengfei, getting pregnant before marriage in the military is punishable by military law. What are you going to do?" As he spoke, beads of sweat formed on his forehead, and with a clenched fist, he slammed it against the wall, his eyes red with anger. "It's all my fault. I failed to protect you." The pain on his face seemed genuine. It left me feeling a bit disoriented. So, in his youth, Yi Xiangdong had once felt such deep affection for me. The moment I recalled his deceit and concealment from my previous life, the slightest bit of gratitude I felt vanished instantly. I was reborn back in the 1970s. I was reborn at a low point in my life. I was a female soldier. Yet I became pregnant out of wedlock. And I never managed to shake off the stigma of improper relationships. Yi Xiangdong wiped his eyes and said solemnly to me, "Fengfei, don't be afraid, I'll immediately submit the marriage report. As long as we get married, no one can do anything to you, and the child in your belly will be mine." "I'm sorry, Fengfei, if you hadn't accompanied me on that home visit, you wouldn't have encountered such a thing." I recalled the events from a month ago, my eyes turning cold. Whether in my past life or this one, I want to find out who set me up on the night I accompanied Yi Xiangdong home. A month ago, Yi Xiangdong was injured while saving me, and I sent him home to recuperate. However, after a drunken night, I ended up sharing a bed with a male-educated youth. He claimed that I forced him. Before I could even process what happened, I was seized by the villagers, humiliated beyond measure. I fled back that very night, after a month of living in fear. I discovered I was pregnant. I had no choice but to return to my hometown and hide at Yi Xiangdong's place. But as my belly grew larger, so did the rumors and gossip. The Yi family forced me to drink an abortion potion. After taking the potion, the child was gone, and I lost my ability to have children. Yi Xiangdong didn't reject me. He still married me. Since we had no children, I had to adopt 2 children from Yi Xiangdong's distant cousin. The so-called younger sister was actually Yi Xiangdong's child bride. The 2 children were Yi Xiangdong's biological offspring. I raised someone else's children for 20 years, only to be making wedding clothes for others. The tragedy of my past life all stemmed from this child in my womb. I wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes and tightly grasped Yi Xiangdong's hand. "Xiangdong, you're the only one I can rely on. I'm pregnant. And I can't stay here anymore. I'll go write the report now. Xiangdong, you must marry me." Yi Xiangdong nodded and left. I watched his retreating figure with a cold gaze. I still need Yi Xiangdong to cover for me. I'm going to his hometown to uncover the truth. I quickly submitted 2 reports, one for illness requiring recuperation, and one for marriage. However, the person on the marriage report was not Yi Xiangdong, but Zhao Xingrong, the male-educated youth, in my previous life. By the time I came to my senses and sought revenge, he was already reduced to nothing. After submitting the 2 reports, I quickly packed my bags and prepared to leave. Yi Xiangdong looked at me in surprise. "Your reports were approved so quickly." "Of course, my father is a leader. The first time I used his name, such a small matter was quickly approved. In my previous life, I panicked whenever I encountered such situations, and I never dared to ask my family for help. I was afraid of being scolded by my father and family, but even more afraid of disappointing them. It wasn't until I married Yi Xiangdong that they found out. By that time, I had retired from the military and become a rural woman. I still remember the heartbroken and disappointed look in my father's eyes at that time. I thought my father wouldn't like Yi Xiangdong, since he had always been strict with me since I was a child. To my surprise, he took great care of Yi Xiangdong. After my father passed away, Yi Xiangdong's path to promotion became much more difficult. Thinking about this, I really wanted to slap myself. How could I have thought my father didn't love me? Fortunately, this time, I have a chance to make amends. Returning to Yi Xiangdong's hometown, I felt a chill run down my spine. The villagers, seeing me, turned their heads away with looks of disdain. Yi Xiangdong was deeply embarrassed, and I clenched my fists. The humiliations I endured in his hometown in my past life resurfaced in my mind, but this time, I won't repeat the mistakes of my past life. Returning to the Yi family, I finally met Yi Qiuyu, the so-called distant cousin of the Yi family. She ran out with a joyful expression. Brother Xiangdong, you're back. Didn't you use up all your vacation days this year? Seeing my figure, her smile froze on her face. Comrade Gu, you've come too. I looked at her calmly, said nothing, and just nodded. After settling me in, Yi Xiangdong told his parents about our plan to get married. The expressions and attitudes of Ye's parents changed when they saw me. I even overheard Ye's mother whispering to Yi Xiangdong, her reputation is so bad that it stinks for miles. Are you still going to marry her, Xiangdong? If you don't care about your reputation, we do. You'd better think this through. Hearing Mrs. Ye's words again made me extremely embarrassed, but I knew she would eventually agree. In my past life, Mr. and Mrs. Yi vehemently opposed my marriage to Yi Xiangdong because I arrived with a noticeable baby bump. The Yi family almost kicked me out on sight, but in the end, Yi Xiangdong insisted on marrying me. He made me feel like he was a celestial being sent to save me. I am forever grateful for this kindness and will remain devoted to him for life. Yi Xiangdong gently stroked my hair. Just stay here and relax for now. Once our marriage report is approved, we'll be a legitimate couple, and no one can say anything bad about you. I nodded obediently, then said, but we're not married yet. If I stay at your place, people will gossip. I see a new courtyard has been built at the east end of the village. How about I buy it with my own money and move in there? This is the house that the Yi family's parents built in preparation for moving. In my previous life, they moved into the new house, leaving me in the dark and cramped old one. This time, I won't settle for less. Yi Qiuyu vehemently objected. No way. That's the house our family just built. We're about to move in. There's no way you can live there. Don't you look at yourself. Your reputation is in shambles, and you still want to live in a new house. I frowned at Yi Xiangdong and said, Xiangdong, is it because my reputation is ruined that you can't even agree to this small request? I just want to stay there for a while. Besides, I'm not going to live there for free. Yi Qiuyu pouted in disagreement, but after being glared at by Yi Xiangdong, she didn't say anything more. I bought the new house for 50 yuan and signed the purchase agreement in the presence of the village head and the village secretary. The Yi family spent at least 300 yuan building this courtyard, but Yi Xiangdong didn't want me to pay more, so he only charged me 50 yuan. He thought this house would eventually belong to the Yi family. And now he was just letting me contribute a symbolic amount of money, but I was determined that once I moved in, I had no intention of returning the house to the Yi family. I moved in quickly. Yi Qiuyu was very angry, ran into the mountains, and accidentally fell, hitting his head. The day after I moved into my new house, Yi Qiuyu came with a bowl of medicine. She changed her usual gentle demeanor and looked at me with disdain, a woman with a ruined reputation. Actually clinging to brother Xiangdong to marry you, you really have no shame. She slammed the bowl down on the table and gestured at me. Drink it quickly. The door of the Yi family isn't so easy to enter. Get rid of that illegitimate child in your belly quickly, otherwise, don't even think about entering the Yi family's door. Seeing the brown medicinal soup on the table, I couldn't help but feel nauseous. In my past life, it was also Yi Qiuyu who brought me this bowl of medicine to drink. It was this bowl of medicine that caused me to bleed uncontrollably, and I clutched my stomach in pain for 3 days and nights. That miscarriage nearly cost me half my life, leaving me in such poor health that I became a regular at the hospital. This time, I won't be drinking this bowl of medicine. I stared at Yi Qiuyu. I won't drink this suspicious medicine. Whether I can enter the Yi family's door is up to Yi Xiangdong, not you. I continued, if something happens to me, it's because of Yi Xiangdong. He's responsible for me. What's wrong with that? Yi Qiuyu demanded sharply. Are you going to drink or not? You shameless slut. Do you really want to give birth to this bastard? Do you want brother Xiangdong to wear a green hat and raise your child for you? You really have no shame. I glared at her and said, this is between me and Yi Xiangdong. Stay out of it, get lost, and don't show up in front of me again. Don't push me to slap you. Yi Qiuyu suddenly turned cold, scrutinizing me closely, then suddenly pointed at me and burst out laughing. Ha ha ha, you, so it was you, actually, ha ha ha. She laughed for a while, then wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes with the back of her hand. She picked up the bowl of medicine and walked over, saying, you'll drink it today whether you want to or not. My eyes hardened. and I snatched the bowl of medicine, turned to restrain her, and forced her to drink it all down by gripping her neck. Yi Chuyu struggled desperately, but the entire bowl of medicine was forced down her throat without a single drop left. This abortifacient not only causes severe bleeding in pregnant women, but normal women who take it likely won't fare any better. The potent poison Yi Chuyu fed me in my previous life. Now she gets to taste it herself in this one. Fanfei, what are you doing? Let go of Chuyu right now. Just as I was about to release Yi Chuyu, Yi Xiaodong arrived. He quickly pushed me away and shielded Yi Chuyu in his arms. Fanfei, what's going on? Why are you treating Chuyu like this? She's just a young girl. I let out a cold laugh. Ask her yourself. She said I had to get rid of the baby in my womb if I wanted to marry you. That's why she brought me the abortion potion. Yi Xiaodong, you were the one who said you didn't mind the child in my womb. What? Yi Xiaodong looked at Yi Chuyu in surprise. Chuyu, where did you get the abortion potion? No, how did you know Fanfei was pregnant? Who told you? In this life, my belly is completely indistinguishable from that of a normal woman. Yi Xiaodong also assured me that he would never tell anyone about my pregnancy. How did she find out? Yi Chuyu sobbed. Brother Xiaodong, don't you believe me? It was Sister Fanfei who told me. She asked me to cook this medicine, but I was afraid it would hurt Sister's body, so I cooked a medicine to protect the baby. It's not an abortion medicine. Sister misunderstood that I wanted to harm her and forced me to drink the medicine. I exclaimed in surprise. What? A medicine to protect the baby? Would you really be so kind? Yi Chuyu continued to cry in Yi Xiaodong's arms. Sister Fanfei, believe me, I really didn't want to harm you. I asked Yi Xiaodong to bring the medicinal residue over for inspection. The next day, Yi Xiaodong said to me unhappily, Fanfei, I've consulted a barefoot doctor. Chuyu wasn't lying. That medicine really is for maintaining pregnancy. You'll need a lot of help from Chuyu if you're going to live here. She's a very kind young girl. Don't hold any prejudice against her. I lowered my head and said nothing. Why has Chuyu suddenly become so kind? This doesn't make sense. After Yi Xiaodong returned to the army, an unexpected guest arrived at the house. Yi Chuyu came knocking and got straight to the point, saying, You've also been reborn, haven't you? I was startled and turned to look at her. She sashayed up to me. Gu Fanfei, I thought you'd be smarter after being reborn, but you're still so stupid, she said viciously. In our previous life, you couldn't outmaneuver me, and this time, I absolutely won't let you take my man away again. I instantly understood her scheme. So, the other day when you brought me the pregnancy tonic, it was to sow discord between me and Yi Xiaodong. Yi Chuyu nodded triumphantly. You're not completely clueless. How amusing. Gu Fanfei, you've also been reborn. Gu Fanfei, you were the leader's wife for 20 years in your previous life. This time, it's my turn. Xiaodong is mine, and no one is taking him away from me. You worthless scum should be with that despicable man, becoming the filth beneath my feet. She reached out to grab my hair, but I quickly pinned her to the ground. I tightened my grip around her neck. Was that man you're doing? Was everything that happened to me part of your scheme? Yi Chuyu struggled and screamed. I don't know what you're talking about. Brother Xiaodong, save me. I sneered. Your brother Xiaodong has already gotten into the car. He can't save you. No, help, help. Yi Chuyu's face was turning purple. With all the new and old grudges from my past life combined, I really wanted to strangle her. Suddenly, someone lunged at me and knocked me aside. Instinctively, I kicked him in the chest. He lay on the ground, unable to get up for a while. I looked closely and was shocked to see it was him, Cadian, Zhao Jingrong, the man I wish I could skin and dismember. At this point, he still hasn't died. However, he looks utterly wretched now. His face a patchwork of bruises, and one arm is in a sling. He spat out a mouthful of blood, pleading with me. You can't kill her, kill me instead. It's my fault, I wronged you. I sneered at him. You really are deeply devoted to her. Zhao Jingrong just shook his head, tears in his eyes, looking utterly miserable. Yi Chuyu screamed and backed away. Gu Fanfei, how dare you lay a hand on me? You're insane. Xiangdong Gij won't let you get away with this, I threatened her. I'll kill you and throw you into the mountains to be devoured by wolves. By the time your Xiangdong Gij returns, you'll already be a pile of bones. Yi Chuyu screamed, scrambled up, and ran away. In her mind, I was still that frail housewife who wouldn't dare to lay a hand on her. That's why she dared to provoke me. I asked Zhao Jingrong, why did you frame me? He looked miserable, bowing his head and apologizing to me repeatedly, impatiently. I grabbed his collar and pulled him up, saying, from now on, you're my legal husband. After being reborn, I really wanted to kill him, but I knew that killing him wouldn't solve my current predicament. I quickly said, I just want to confirm, was it Yi Qiuyu who threatened you, or Yi Xiongdong? Before he could speak, I continued, I know, your grandfather and parents live there, and I can ensure their safety. In my previous life, his family returned to the city soon after, but by then, he was already dead. Hearing me say this, Zhao Xingrong's pupils dilated in shock, and a flash of ruthlessness crossed his eyes. You, how do you know? Who else knows about this? I chuckled. Do you really think this is still a secret? If Yi Qiuyu can know, so can I. Tell me, who put you up to this? Zhao Xingrong remained silent. I continued, if you don't speak, I'll go tell your family that you forced me, got me pregnant, and then helped others to frame me. Seeing his incredulous expression, I went on, guess what? Do you think they'll have the face to live in this world after I tell them? Zhao Xingrong's tears finally fell. It was, Yi Qiuyu, the question in my heart finally has an answer, but I don't understand. Why is it like this? Zhao Xingrong continued. I was delivering food to my grandfather and medicine to my parents when she saw me. She used this as leverage to blackmail me. I didn't want to harm you, but she forced me to take the medicine. I'm sorry. I do want to take responsibility for you, but with my current status, marrying me would only harm you. If others find out about my relationship with my parents, I'll be implicated too. I'm in a precarious situation. I can't drag you down with me. My chest feels like it's being weighed down by something heavy and painful. I said slowly, I'm pregnant, and the only way I can protect you is by becoming your legal wife. If you're unwilling, I'll report you right now. Make your choice. Zhao Xingrong was silent for a moment. But even if I agree, we can't get the marriage certificate right away. I patted his shoulder. You don't need to worry about that. I suppose my marriage certificate will arrive tomorrow. Fortunately, the marriage certificate process is now simple and doesn't require a photo, or else I wouldn't have been able to ask my father for help. As soon as we finished discussing, a commotion broke out at the door. I immediately pulled Zhao Xingrong to the backyard, jumped over the wall in a few leaps, and then pulled him up. Only after he left did I quickly erase all traces. At this moment, I felt full of strength and incredibly light. My movements were still swift, and my body hadn't been ruined by that bowl of medicine. Having done all this, Yi Qiuyu stormed in with a group of people, her presence fierce. You shameless woman, you brought another random man home to fool around. You're ruining the reputation of our village, out in broad daylight. Carrying on with such indecent behavior, drag her out so everyone can see how shameless she is. Yi Qiuyu glared at me with malice, a sinister smile playing on her lips. I said to these villagers, catching a thief requires evidence. What proof do you have that there's a strange man in my house? Are you acting like bureaucrats, trying to frame me without any investigation? The leader has said, without investigation, there is no right to speak. The villagers were indignant, searching everywhere in the house but finding no one. Yi Qiuyu said, she killed that man. I saw it with my own eyes. She kicked the man, and he started bleeding from his mouth. I spread my hands. Comrade Yi Qiuyu, you said you saw me kick a man until he vomited blood. If I kicked him, how could he possibly be my lover? You said I killed someone, whether they're dead or alive. You should at least produce a body. Where's the evidence? After half a day of searching without finding anyone, they were starting to get impatient. I looked at them with cold eyes. If they lay a hand on me, I'm confident I can take them all down. In my past life, Yi Qiuyu fed me a lot of drugs, and it wasn't until the third day when I was drowsy and as weak as a noodle that I fell for their trap. This time, I'm not afraid of them, no matter what they try to do. A few villagers were getting impatient and started questioning Yi Qiuyu. Yi Qiuyu snorted coldly. She was always a rotten person, and I didn't wrong her. I glared coldly at her. The leader has said that it's okay to make mistakes. As long as you correct them, you're still a good comrade. Does Comrade Yi Qiuyu not allow lagging comrades to reform? Is Comrade Yi Qiuyu trying to undermine the unity of the people? My few words made her furious, and she turned to leave. Just you wait. I stepped forward, grabbed her collar, and slapped her a few times. You slandered me, and you think you can just walk away without an apology? Yi Qiuyu's face was red and swollen from my slap. She looked at me in fear. You bitch, how dare you hit me? Xiongdong won't let you off. He won't let you off. A few men with hostile expressions surrounded me. I threw my arms and legs into action, knocking them all to the ground. I'm a soldier now, and slandering me will land you in court. The men looked at each other in fear, not daring to say anything, and fled in disgrace. The next day, I received a letter from my superiors, containing a freshly issued marriage certificate. I finally felt at ease. I bought ingredients and asked the educated youths and village women to help prepare several tables of feasts. I also invited the team leader and village secretary to preside over my wedding. The wedding banquet was simple, but there were 3 substantial meat dishes on the table. In a time when people struggled to get enough to eat, the feast I prepared was considered quite lavish. A few days later, my marriage to Zhao Xingrong was officially recognized. The guests were all enjoying themselves, showering us with compliments. I pretended to be shy and told them, "Thank you all for your kind words." This wedding banquet was simple, but when I give birth to a boy, I'll invite all of you to celebrate again. Upon hearing this, everyone's excitement grew even more. At that moment, Yi Chuyu burst in with a group of people. The leading man's eyes were cold and piercing. "I hear there are people engaging in improper relationships. We're going to report these shameless individuals to the authorities." There was no need for me to defend myself. The villagers spoke up for me on their own. Yi Chuyu said incredulously, "Married? You're actually married? I don't believe it." I coldly stared at her. "Yi Chuyu, I know you like Zhao Xingrong, but we're both married now. Do you really want to ruin our relationship? Have some self-respect." Everyone looked at her with strange expressions. Her face turned red. "Who would like him? Don't talk nonsense. The one I like is." She regained her composure. "Don't slander me. I'm reporting you for improper relationships. You just got married. But you're already pregnant with a bastard. Everyone saw it a month ago." I glared at her angrily. "You're slandering me." Yi Chuyu was smug. "Would you dare let a doctor take your pulse?" At this, everyone's gaze on me changed. Zhao Xingrong was sweating profusely, whispering, "If it comes to it, just say I forced you." I glanced at him and said to Yi Chuyu, "I dare you. If the doctor doesn't figure it out, you owe me a kowtow apology." Yi Chuyu hesitated for a moment, then agreed. I sat down confidently, allowing the doctor she brought to take my pulse. She had thought it through thoroughly and had brought 3 doctors with her. After the 3 doctors took my pulse, they all shook their heads and said I wasn't pregnant. The leading man said darkly, "Are you sure about this? If you're wrong." An older doctor said, "Ly, if Director Chiu isn't confident, why not find someone else to check? Our medical skills are limited. We really can't tell." Director Chiu walked around the courtyard and suddenly said, "I remember you were a soldier. Your marriage isn't as simple as a rural where just having a banquet counts. Where's your marriage certificate? If you don't have one, you're just fooling around." "Of course there is." I handed over the marriage certificate. Yi Chuyu tried to come closer to take a look, but I yanked it away. "You're not worthy to see it." I forced Yi Chuyu. "You've slandered me twice, now kneel down to me." Yi Chuyu looked full of humiliation. "Who do you think you are? You think you're worthy of me kneeling and apologizing? You're the one who was paraded through the streets." I said with humiliation, "How dare you bring up what happened a month ago? Zhao Jiqing and I were already in a relationship, and we were married. The only reason we didn't have our marriage certificate with us was because it was kept at our unit. You're slandering me. And I could even sue you for slandering a military officer. If it weren't for Yi Xiangdong's sake, I could have you arrested and shot." A collective gasp echoed through the crowd. Yi Chuyu looked embarrassed and remained silent. I turned to Director Chiu. "If Director Chiu doesn't handle this, I might have to report it to my superiors." Director Chiu glared harshly at Yi Chuyu. "How many lives do you have to recklessly report others?" He turned to me with a smile and said, "It's all a misunderstanding. I wish you a long and happy life together, and may you have children soon." After saying that, he was ready to leave with his people. Yi Chuyu clenched her teeth and pointed at Zhao Xingrong. "I want to report him. Zhao Xingrong is a bad person, and he's part of the group living in the shacks next door." Hearing this, Director Chiu stopped in his tracks. Everyone quietly moved away from Zhao Xingrong, and the air grew still. I smiled faintly and looked at Director Chiu. "What do you think, Director?" Director Chiu slapped Yi Chuyu across the face. "You fool, she's a soldier." It was only then that everyone realized what had happened. Military marriages are always subject to investigation. If Zhao Xingrong's identity had been problematic, we absolutely wouldn't have gotten this marriage certificate. Director Chiu stormed out in anger. Yi Chuyu wanted to run, but was blocked by a few educated youths. A few couldn't bear to watch and said, "Comrade Gu, today is your big day, why not just let it go?" Zhao Xingrong angrily said, "She clearly knew today was our big day, yet she still brought people to cause trouble. We're just asking her to apologize." I pressed Yi Chuyu's shoulders and forced her to the ground. She said fiercely, "Gu Fengfei, how dare you treat me like this? When Brother Shandong comes back, he won't let you off. You actually married someone else behind his back. I'm going to tell him." I slapped her a few more times. "Apologize to me, or you're not leaving this door today." Yi Chuyu glared at us with venom, eventually kneeling down unwillingly to kowtow. She stumbled out, and I stared at her retreating back. "Yi Chuyu, This is just a small interest payment. When Ye's parents found out that I married Zhao Xingrong, they came to my door, accusing me of tricking their son and their house. I called in the witness who was present when the contract was signed. I initially offered 300, but you insisted on selling it to me for 50. It's all written down in black and white. You can't back out now. Ye's parents left, beating their chests and vowing to have Yi Xiongdong come back to deal with me. They sent a telegram to Yi Xiongdong, falsely claiming that his father was seriously ill and urging him to return for a final farewell. Yi Xiongdong returned home covered in dust, only to find his father in good health. He was furious. As this return caused him to miss the military competition, I remember in my previous life, he shined brilliantly in this competition and became the champion of this generation. My father was later able to help him and give him opportunities, all because of this achievement. Now, he has lost this opportunity. But no one is backing him anymore. Yi Xiongdong brought Yi Qiuyu to my house, and he said incredulously, "Feng Fei, you actually got married to someone else. We had agreed to get married. How could you deceive me?" He said painfully, "When I submitted the marriage report, you agreed to it. Feng Fei, you were clearly my wife. Why did you marry someone else?" I said while exercising my arm strength in the yard. "Yi Xiongdong, why I would marry someone else? You can ask your dear sister Yi Qiuyu about that." "Oh, not a dear sister, but rather, your fiancé," Yi Xiongdong said frantically. "No, that's not true. I've always treated Qiuyu as my sister. There was never any fiancé." I let out a cold laugh, treating her like a sister, who would have a child with their own sister, having a child and then expecting me to raise it. I raised their child for 20 whole years. After the miscarriage, my body hadn't even recovered. Yet I had to take care of a newborn all by myself. My health only worsened. I calmly said to Yi Xiongdong, "You treat her as your wife, but she treats you as her husband. Otherwise, how could she have drugged and framed me a month ago?" Yi Xiongdong grabbed Yi Qiuyu's shoulders in shock. "Was it you? Did you really do it?" Of course, Yi Qiuyu refused to admit it. I simply said, "Why don't you investigate it yourself? The evidence I found." He might not believe it. A few days later, Director Chiu came again. Zhao Xingrong ran up to me in a panic, trembling and said, "Gu Fengfei, help." Director Chiu brought people, accusing my grandfather of avoiding labor and having improper thoughts, and they want to take him to jail. My grandfather is not in good health and can't handle this. I immediately went out with him, in front of the crude shack. The people brought by Director Chiu were pulling and tugging at a few emaciated individuals. I darted forward, pulled them apart, and in a few moves, knocked them all to the ground, shielding Zhao Xingrong's family behind me. Director Chiu's eyes gleamed with a sharp light as he saw me appear. Yi Qiuyu stood behind Director Chiu, excitedly saying, "Director Chiu, I told you, didn't I? Zhao Xingrong is definitely connected to these lazy people." Director Chiu gave me a stern look. "Gu Fengfei, didn't you say your husband has no connection with these people? What are you doing now?" I clenched my fists. "Well, I just found out. There is indeed a connection." Director Chiu got excited. "Then don't blame me for being impolite." They tried to come forward to arrest Zhao Xingrong, but I blocked them. I firmly told them, "These people are my family, and now I'm protecting them." Hearing my words, the arriving educated youths were all stunned. Director Chiu looked at me and laughed, pointing at me and saying, "Good, you're doing very well." He turned and left, and Yi Qiuyu stomped her feet and followed behind him. I squinted at the distance between the two of them. The crowd dispersed, and I directly brought Zhao Xingrong's family to the new house. Zhao Xingrong's grandfather shook his head and refused, his voice hoarse and weak. "I know you're a good kid, but we can't drag you down. Just live a good life with Xingrong." Zhao's parents looked at me gratefully. "We know Xingrong wronged you in this matter. We sent him to find you and apologize, but he was beaten back. Thank you for putting the past behind and still willing to help us. Rest assured, as long as we're here, we'll make sure this kid doesn't bully you." As I listened to them, my mind wandered. Zhao Xingrong came to find me. How did he die in my previous life? Despite their objections, I insisted on bringing them home. Only at my home could I temporarily ensure their safety. That evening, Zhao Xingrong came to thank me. I told him that if they could hold on for a few more days, they would be taken back to the city and resume their previous jobs. In my previous life, it would take over 2 months for his family to receive the news. This time, I asked someone for help, so I'm sure the news will come soon. Yi Xiongdong came to see me again. "Feng Fei, I know what happened before was a mistake. You can't keep making the same mistake. Divorce him, he'll drag you down." I stared at him intently. "What about you? Won't you drag me down too, Yi Xiongdong? What have you found out?" Yi Xiaodong turned his head away and said nothing. I knew that just one Yi Qiuyu wouldn't be able to drug me and then get Yi Xiaodong drunk. I asked him, why would your family want to harm me? Yi Xiaodong hadn't yet become the shameless person he was in his previous life. He looked somewhat ashamed and said painfully, They heard me say that your father is a military commander. So, I glared at him sharply. They think I'm not good enough for you. So they try to humiliate me. Only by trampling me into the dirt will you have a chance, isn't that right? Yi Xiaodong didn't dare to meet my eyes and lowered his head. I'm sorry, I will make it up to you. I will take responsibility for you. I won't pursue what you've done to my family. Shameless. A figure appeared at the door. It was Zhao Xingrong, who pointed at Yi Xiaodong. Your whole family has been hurting people. And then you come close to her under the guise of responsibility. You've got it all figured out. Your whole family got what they wanted. Yi Xiaodong roared. I don't know. I really don't know. If I had known, I absolutely wouldn't have agreed. I coldly interrupted him. So now that you know, are you willing to make them pay the price? Yi Xiaodong didn't speak, only muttered. But, they are after all my parents and family. I pushed him out the door. Then don't ever claim to be my comrade again. And please don't meddle in my affairs. That night, I brought along Qiu's arch-nemesis and caught Director Qiu and Yi Qiuyu in bed, naked. Yi Qiuyu always managed to get Director Qiu to cause trouble for me, which struck me as odd. She didn't have money to bribe him, so that left only one option, bribery with her body. In my previous life, I was too easily manipulated, so Yi Qiuyu naturally didn't need to resort to such tactics. This time, she was so eager to crush me as she had in my previous life that she chose this path. Seeing Yi Qiuyu half undressed, Ye's mother let out a scream and lunged at her, hitting and scolding her. I smiled at Yi Qiuyu and said, now, it's time to take you in for ideological education. Yi Qiuyu screamed, it was him, he raped me. I want to report it. I want to call the police. Director Qiu slapped her across the face and said, you were the one who seduced me. Yi Qiuyu paused for a moment, then lunged at Director Qiu. In her previous life, she had been a noble lady for too long. Probably forgetting Director Qiu's current influence, a few days later, she was arrested and subjected to ideological education. That night, I went to the room where she was held, looking at the battered Yi Qiuyu. Does it feel good, when you framed me back then? You're now reaping what you sowed, so what? Yi Qiuyu stubbornly retorted, in our past life, you were my defeated opponent, and this time will be no different. Xiaodong is mine, I will be the future commander's wife, and you can just wait to be a widow. In our past life, you killed Zhao Xinglong, I demanded sharply. Yi Qiuyu laughed, don't even think about pinning this on me. Zhao Xinglong died because of you, you're the murderer. After that incident, he still wanted to take responsibility for you and even planned to go to the army to find you. He set out with the family heirloom jade pendant, intending to give it to you, but when people found out, they couldn't let him off. He was beaten until his limbs were broken, and he bled to death. My heart trembled, and I clenched my fist, punching her in the face. It was you ruined us. Yi Qiuyu initially struggled and dodged desperately, but soon her voice weakened. A hand stopped me. Enough, Fengfei, calm down. I knew he was here to save Yi Qiuyu, so I didn't say much and punched Yi Xiaodong a few times. He didn't fight back and took it without resistance. Yi Qiuyu was taken away by Yi Xiaodong. Director Qiu led dozens of people to surround my house, demanding I hand someone over. He said sinisterly that if I couldn't produce Yi Qiuyu, I should hand over the Zhao family members instead. I gripped a wooden stick, wondering if I could take down all these people. No news has come in yet, and I'm getting anxious. Chief Qiu waved his hand, and a group of people charged at me. Zhao Xingrong, with one arm still in a sling, came charging out with a stick, shouting. I found his appearance a bit ridiculous but also touching. Just as the intense fight was underway, a gunshot suddenly rang out. Everyone around stopped what they were doing and looked back. A group of people got off the vehicles and surrounded us, shouting, what's going on here? Nobody move. Hands up. Tears finally welled up, led by the bodyguard of my father. Director Qiu still wanted to step forward and argue with them, but was pulled aside. The bodyguard took out several documents and read them aloud on the spot. The documents were for restoring Zhao family's jobs, allowing them to return to the city for work. The Zhao family collapsed to the ground in tears. I walked up to Director Qiu, whose face was dark, and said, Director Qiu, there's plenty of time ahead. I'll be watching you. Beating a serving soldier, no matter how powerful the people behind Director Qiu are, they can't protect him. I left this place that broke my heart, together with the Zhao family. Before leaving, I sold the house for 10 yuan to a few educated youths, allowing them to move in. When I saw my stern father again, I burst into tears and hugged him tightly. The grievances of past and present life poured out, and I cried until I fainted. Later, my father asked me what I planned to do with the child in my belly. After some thought, I decided to keep him. After the Zhao family returned to the city, Zhao Jingrong didn't leave with his parents but stayed at my house to take care of me. 9 months later, I gave birth to twin boys. Half a year later, I returned to the military camp. In the big competition a year later, I surpassed Yi Xiangdong and became the new soldier king. Yi Qiuyu had already married Yi Xiangdong. Seeing the insignia on my shoulder, she was so angry she was grinding her teeth. She forced Yi Xiangdong to earn merits, and Yi Xiangdong went to the battlefield with me. Later, we all returned with military medals. Only Yi Xiangdong came back with a crippled leg. Yi Qiuyu shouted in disbelief, accusing me of reporting her and claiming I had framed Yi Xiangdong. I gave a contemptuous smile and turned to leave. Yi Xiangdong retired from the military, and Yi Qiuyu's dream of becoming a leader's wife was completely shattered. They bickered and fought their entire lives, had 2 children, but still couldn't live a good life. My marriage with Zhao Jingrong continued like this. He got into university, studying while taking care of the children. Later, he became a professor, still working and taking care of the children. My failure in my previous life was not just due to my weak body, but more so because I gave up on myself after encountering a setback. This time, I've learned to never give up, no matter what. As long as I hold on to my convictions, I will remain unshaken by any storm. Story 2. The imperial capital fell, forcing the crown prince and his royal uncle to seek refuge in our clan through marriage. I yielded the prince's hand to my younger sister. On our wedding night, I discovered poison had already corroded his royal highness bones. For a year I nourished him with my lifeblood, until he finally regained his health. Yet after reclaiming the throne, the crown prince banished his own sister to the cold palace. Years later, the prince suddenly staged a rebellion and ascended the throne. His first act was to present me with poisoned wine. It should have been me by her side. You're the one who ruined our destined union, who doomed her to perish alone in that forsaken palace. Every torment she endured, you shall suffer twofold. He forced poisoned wine down my throat, heedless of my pregnancy. For 3 days I screamed, and for 3 days he listened. When my eyes opened again, I had returned to the day of choosing my husband. My younger sister wore a look of shame. As the illegitimate child, the crown prince's favor rightfully belongs to you, elder sister. I responded immediately, how very true, dear sister. Both the younger sister and the prince were stunned. As the illegitimate daughter, the crown prince's favor rightfully belongs to elder sister. The younger sister knelt gracefully, lowering her eyes as she paid me deep respects. A venomous glare shot toward me. A shiver ran down my spine. It was Prince Su, my husband from a past life, Su Rue. Only later did I realize he'd begun hating me the very day my sister and I were choosing our husbands. Time and again he'd choke me while hurling insults. Who the hell do you think you are, demanding I kneel before you? How dare this foreign wench presume to compare status with her? Yet truth be told, our people make no distinction between noble and common blood, but having grown up in the Central Plains, my younger sister stubbornly clings to their rigid hierarchies. Despite my repeated assurances of our equal standing, she insists on groveling before me, fueling endless gossip among our kin. Today, the distinction between her status and mine became painfully clear. The woman who'd normally offer a simple bow actually prostrated herself before me. In my past life, I'd been too flustered to accept such deference and hastily yielded the crown prince's favor to her. On our wedding night, I discovered Su Rue had long been poisoned to the marrow. I never pressed my sister about whether she'd known all along, holding fast to the belief that marriage makes us one. I stubbornly nourished him with my lifeblood for a year. Pulling him back from death's door, the world proclaimed us a match made in heaven, and he always treated me with utmost respect, except on the day my sister died, when this man who never touched alcohol drank himself into oblivion. Back then I didn't think much of it, keeping vigil by his side all night, until he raised the rebel banner, stormed the capital with Yuzhou cavalry, ascended the throne, and presented me poisoned wine. Only then did I realize his heart had always belonged to my younger sister. For 3 days the venom seared through my organs, torturing both me and the unborn child with unbearable agony, yet he deliberately prolonged my suffering, savoring it for 3 days before sending me to my doom. He said, Yen also took her own life 3 days after entering the cold palace. Today, you're merely getting what you gave. At this thought, I immediately agreed, you're absolutely right, sister. Then she stood beside Su Chen and patted his shoulder. "Then I'll be taking His Highness away." The body beneath my palm suddenly stiffened. Instinctively, I wanted to withdraw my hand, but forced myself to maintain the act. When Yen jerked her head up, disbelief written all over her face, I'd always been quick to hand things over the moment she lowered her head. This was the first time she'd accepted something without even pretending to refuse. I curled my lips into a smirk as I turned to Su Rue. I thought he'd be secretly pleased to get what he wanted, yet his brows furrowed instead, his expression becoming unreadable. Sister, when Yen only panicked momentarily before quickly composing herself, "The crown prince should rightfully be yours, sister, only, there's been much discord between His Highness and elder sister, I fear after the wedding." I paused momentarily. Truth be told, she wasn't wrong. When I was 15, my father sent me to the capital for 3 months of study. By the time I returned, everyone from the emperor to the common folk knew the crown prince utterly despised that little princess from the northern borderlands. Of course, his hatred was perfectly justified. What happened truly was my fault. In my past life, not choosing him was partly because he couldn't stand me, but now there's no choice left. Ahem, who dares say there's bad blood between me and crown prince? Our bond goes deeper than you could ever fathom. With that, she hooked an arm around Su Chen's neck and planted a smacking kiss on his cheek. See, when Yan's face drained of color, Su Chen's body went rigid, Su Rue's gaze turned icy, a thump-thump sound echoed in my ears. With my ear pressed against Su Chen's chest, I froze momentarily. Just as I focused to listen, he whirled around abruptly. He moved so fast that it took me a moment to react before giving chase. "Hey, Crown Prince, wait for me." Su Chen's strides were lightning quick. He vanished around the corner in an instant. I wiped the sweat from my brow. "Do you really hate seeing me that much?" A deafening boom echoed beside my ear. Pushing through the undergrowth, I saw Su Chen punch the tree trunk with such force that it left a perfect fist imprint. Impressive skills. I instinctively cheered. Then it dawned on me something was wrong. He whipped his head around, eyes bloodshot. Ahem. "Well, I was just passing by, not here." He whispered to me. Fine, I'm leaving." "Alright." My heart twisted at the sight of the tassel on his sword. I vanished from his view before he could notice. On our wedding night, I sat cross-legged on the bed sighing heavily, wondering how to break it to him. His hatred for me must have reached the heavens. Why else would he punch a tree just because I kissed him, if not for needing our marriage for political asylum? That fist would have been aimed at me, wouldn't it, had I known this would happen? I should have shamelessly refused to attend the Capitol lectures 5 years ago. I never wanted to go to the capital in the first place. I detest all their pompous formalities. But father insisted my sister needed proper Central Plains cultivation, and that I should tame my wild ways through study. The tutor assigned to me was none other than the Grand Preceptor to the Crown Prince. He was a rigid old scholar. And Su Chen himself was a man of few words. Life was dull. The food bland. My only diversion was Su Chen himself, yet the man had eyes only for his sacred texts, never sparing me a glance beyond official matters. Just when I thought I'd suffocate in the Eastern Palace, I suddenly noticed his sword tassel was actually strung with dazzling crystal beads, so I yanked it right off during his sword practice. Ha ha ha, who knew our dignified crown prince secretly fancied such girly trinkets? He suddenly flew into a rage out of nowhere. Drawing his sword and charging at me, we fought from dawn till dusk, both leaning on our swords gasping for breath. I threw the crystal sword tassel back at him. "Take your damn beads back. Can't believe you'd throw a tantrum over some lousy trinkets. It's not like I took your sword, can't even take a joke." The sword tassel struck his chest and fell to the ground. His eyes instantly reddened as he raised his sword and lunged forward. "Say that again." Fortunately, His Majesty arrived just in time to separate us. Later, His Majesty took me aside and said, "Don't blame him, it was the only keepsake left by his late mother." The revelation struck me like lightning, burning my cheeks with shame as I wished I could slap myself senseless. I'd been taunting him all day with what I called a worthless trinket, his own mother's final memento. I kept wanting to apologize afterward, but he'd shut his eyes the moment he saw me, refusing to hear a single word. Not another word passed between us until his departure from the capital. Lost in thought, I startled when the door burst open. A tall figure clad in crimson stood framed in the doorway. Su Chen braced himself with one palm against the door jamb. "He's drunk, Su Chen." I rushed forward to catch him as he was about to collapse. Su Chen never blushed, not even when drinking. His crimson robes made his skin appear even paler than snow, with only a faint redness at the corners of his eyes betraying his intoxication. I let out a sigh. that desperate to avoid me. Suchin never drank. This was the first time I'd seen him drunk. True enough, to seek political asylum by submitting to someone you don't love, the only way to endure such humiliation is to drown yourself in drink. Perhaps it's better you're drunk. This way I won't have to think about how to tell you. Feeling somewhat relieved, I was just helping him to the bed when my foot caught on his long robe. Steadying myself, I realized he was staring at me intently. What's wrong? I looked down and my face instantly paled. Oh no. In my panic, I'd grabbed wildly and accidentally yanked off his sword tassel again. Seeing his eyes reddening at the corners, I frantically waved my hands. I didn't mean to. Let me wrap it for you right now. Swish. He suddenly grabbed the sword at his waist and leveled it before my eyes. I hastily recoiled, swallowed hard, and forced an apologetic smile. I won't duel with you. For you. My arm suddenly grew heavy. Looking down, I found his sword resting in my embrace. The Grand Tutor once said, a swordsman's blade is his very soul. What's this fool thinking? Handing me this thing. Absolutely plastered beyond reason. I won't take it. I shoved the sword and its tassel into his arms. If he finds out I took both his sword and tassel when he sobers up, won't he fight me all over again? He cradled the sword at an angle, tilting his head slightly with a puzzled expression. Don't like it, huh? His gaze lingered on my hair, brows furrowing slightly. After a moment's contemplation, he reached up and pulled out my hairpin. Hey, what are you doing? He bowed his head, carefully winding the sword tassel around my unadorned hairpin before securing it back in place. For you. I stood frozen for what felt like ages, watching his drunken eyes crinkle. A thought struck me as I pointed at the tassel. Tell me this isn't your way of pledging loyalty to me. He wasn't looking at the sword tassel, but straight at me. It is, I sighed, feeling a pang of heartache. My mother's most cherished heirloom, now surrendered to foreign hands in this desperate gambit to retake the capital, has ended up with the very person I despise most. Don't be afraid, even without this offering. My kin and I would still protect you. Don't look at me like that. Very well, I'll keep it for now. If that'll set your mind at ease. Seeing how drunk he was, I fetched a basin of water, wrung out a towel, and prepared to wipe his face, but the moment my fingers touched his cheek, he flinched as if scalded, springing up to grab his sword. What are you doing? I jumped in fright. Night watch. Before I could even voice my question, he'd already stepped out the door, peeking out halfway. I saw his tall crimson figure leaning against the pillar, sword in arms. Snow-pale skin glowing beneath lowered lashes, already fully immersed in his vigil. Seems he'd rather not share a bed with me. I sighed and quietly withdrew. The knocking startled me awake, stumbling drowsily to answer the door. Suchin, you actually stayed out here all. Before I could even utter the word night, my drowsiness vanished instantly. Su Rue stood at the doorway with hands clasped behind his back, his dark robes fluttering as he smirked. Night watch. So my imperial brother still clings to those Central Plains traditions even here. I frowned. What Central Plains traditions or steppe customs? What are you doing here? You didn't know. He stepped forward. When a man loves someone, he keeps vigil for her. Didn't the princess spend time in the capital? I flushed with embarrassment. Not to mention I hadn't paid attention during my time there at all. Suchin spending the night outside had nothing to do with keeping watch. He simply didn't want to see me. A hand reached for my hair, and I slapped it away with a sharp smack. Get lost. Su Rue didn't get angry. He withdrew his hand with a smile, but his gaze remained fixed on my hair. He actually gave this to you too. None of your business. Coming here the day after your wedding. Get lost if you've got nothing to say. I swung my palm out, only to have my wrist seized abruptly in an iron grip. This strength. My expression darkened, yet he chuckled. Do you know what a sword tassel means to its wielder? My eyelid began twitching violently. If it weren't gifted by someone important, it'd just be another accessory. Take Suchin for example. Had that sword tassel not been his late mother's keepsake, he wouldn't have been so furious with me. He froze momentarily before bursting into laughter. 3 months in the Central Plains. And you haven't even grasped the basics. I saw you gleefully playing with other disciple sword tassels at the Mid-Autumn banquet, even wearing one as hairpin. I thought you understood their significance. This makes no sense. Hey, what are you doing? My hair suddenly felt lighter. The tassel-turned hairpin was already clenched in his fist. Such speed, such force. My pupils suddenly constricted. You're poison. He smirked, as I thought. You've been reborn too, in our past life. It took me a whole year nourishing Su Rue's poison with my heart's blood to cure him. How could he have already detoxified after just one night of rebirth? What have you done? I demanded. He lowered his head to untie the sword tassel from his hairpin. Yao. Rebirth has granted me many capabilities. I now know how to neutralize poisons, raise armies, restore kingdoms, and seize power. He wound the tassel from his waist sword around my hairpin, sliding it back into my hair with a roguish smirk. And to steal you back, I yanked the hairpin out and flung it to the ground, as if I'd ever be your woman, no, as my concubine. He smirked. Ian is my lawful wife in this life, but what's wrong with spoiling a concubine if it means having you? Disgusting. I drew my sword and slashed fiercely, only for the blade to be caught between two fingers, but that didn't belong to Surue. A hooded figure in black materialized from nowhere, catching my blade effortlessly between two fingers, mind you. At 15 I could already spar for a full day with Suchin, the greatest swordsman alive. This stranger halted my sword's momentum with just 2 fingers. My breath caught at the sight of the eagle beak knuckle dusters on the man's fingers. The Yuzhou cavalry. Suaning, mind your manners. Surue's voice came low and measured, sending the man retreating respectfully, vanishing in the blink of an eye. I stared at him in disbelief. It's them. How could you have done this so soon, in his past life? Surue had lain low for a full decade before finally subduing these ghost soldiers that struck terror across the land. The moment they entered the capital, the emperor's majesty was tarnished. You've only been reborn for a single day. I told you, this reborn version of me knows exactly what to do and how to do it even with just one day. He stepped across the threshold, advancing relentlessly. In this life, I can be the monarch who restores our kingdom, the devoted husband who protects Ian forever, and most importantly, the Surue who makes up for all our past regrets. My wrist was pinned against the wall by his iron grip, and I frowned impatiently. What nonsense are you spouting? His crimson-tinged eyes glinted as he smirked. Xiao, I kept vigil by your side for 3 days after you died. I thought avenging my beloved would bring me peace, only to learn that nothing in this world is ever perfect. Just like how I took revenge for Ian, unaware I'd slain the one who truly held my heart, I couldn't take it anymore. Stop playing the grieving lover after they're dead. Disgusting. Far from being angry, he simply chuckled and looked at me. Xiao, my imperial brother remembers nothing of our past lives. In this lifetime, he's no match for me. What's more, I command all of Yozhou's elite cavalry. I can accomplish both the antidote delivery and troop withdrawal within a single day. You've got no other choice, says who. Surue's strength had increased considerably after detoxification, but I ignored it and kept resisting him with all my might. Then I'll just die with His Highness the Crown Prince. What? His brows knitted tightly together. I started spouting nonsense. So what if you've tamed the Yuzhou cavalry? Just because you're strong means I should follow you. Anyone Wen Xiao fancies, I'd gladly share course meals with even if he were a roadside beggar. Those Wen Xiao despises, I wouldn't spare a glance even if they were the son of heaven. How wonderful my crown prince is. Even if he can't defeat you, we could flee together to the ends of the earth. At worst, we'd be lovebirds reunited in the afterlife. I'd still make his bed with devotion. I spouted nonsense while secretly counting my blessings. Thank goodness Suchin wasn't here. Just calling him Crown Prince brother used to make him scowl. If he heard me talking like this, he'd probably beat Surue to killing me. Oh really? A low voice came from the doorway. I froze mid-action. The next instant, Surue's grip on me suddenly loosened as he recoiled in pain, staggering backward several steps to reveal Suchin standing behind him. Everything went black. Suchin had changed out of his wedding robes into another crimson gown, sword in one hand and clutching a black-clad figure in the other. He advanced toward me. Her Highness remains as silver-tongued as ever. I wished the ground would swallow me whole. The black-clad man was thrown to the ground as Suchin spoke coldly. Don't dump this kind of trash on me again. Watching blood pool beneath Sui Ning, Surue's eyes widened slightly. You. Those are the shadow guards of Yozhou's elite cavalry, the very ones who infiltrated the imperial palace undetected for a decade and slaughtered everyone within its walls the day Surue raised his rebellion. Besides, anyone capable of staying by Surue's side is clearly no ordinary fighter, and Suchin just hauled him over like that. Take this. Suchin tossed something at Surue. Surue caught it, his sword tassel. Need me to escort you out? Suchin narrowed his eyes. Surue tucked the sword tassel at his waist, raised his bloodied right hand to clasp with his left in a mockingly formal Central Plains salute, his smile never reaching his eyes. It seems this humble brother arrived at an inopportune moment. My apologies. He turned away, casting what might have been a glance in my direction. The chamber held only us two now, and a corpse. With a frosty expression, Suchin sheathed his sword, summoned attendants to remove the corpse. and ordered servants to clean the bloodstains. Seeing him immersed in his tasks again, I cautiously edged closer. Your Highness, Su Chen, Your Highness. Oh, I was just talking nonsense. Don't take it seriously. I simply couldn't stand his arrogance. Su Chen paused mid-motion while closing the door, shut it properly, and finally turned to look at me. Talking nonsense? Absolutely. I raised 3 fingers solemnly. I swear I harbor no improper thoughts about you. That was just nonsense. Doesn't count. He stared at me for what felt like ages. His intense gaze gave me the creeps. Her lashes lowered slightly. Understood. Then she tucked something into my hair. My fingers traced the glass sword tassel hairpin. Recalling Su Rui's earlier mockery, I leaned in closer. Speaking of which, what's the significance of sword tassels in your Central Plains tradition? And what about this hairpin with sword tassels? He glanced at me. Haven't you played with someone else's sword tassel before? Well, I wouldn't know either. His eyes widened slightly. I scratched my head. You know how it is. I basically slept through 3 months of lectures at the Eastern Palace, except when it came to sword practice. He furrowed his brows, gazing at me with unreadable emotions. Finally, he let out a sigh. Only one's beloved may touch a sword tassel. My legs nearly gave way. So back then, I not only desecrated his mother's heirloom but also took the place of his beloved. I should be grateful he didn't run me through with his sword back then. Then, what about this? I sat down and pointed at the hairpin. If you tie it to a hairpin and wear it in your hair, it means, he paused, I wish to stay with that maiden through all our lifetimes, never to part. I fell right off my stool. That mid-autumn banquet at the palace was my rare chance to cut loose the young swordsmanship disciples, and I hit it off immediately. Boys and girls roughhousing together in laughter. Each disciple's sword tassel had unique designs, and fascinated, I took them one by one to examine. Unaware Su Chen's tassel was his late mother's gift, I playfully tied it to my hairpin and pointed at it when approaching his quiet figure. Brother Crown Prince, see how others casually toy with their sword tassels. Why must you be so particular? His closed eyes finally fluttered open, at the sight of the hairpin. His brows knitted together. Who taught you to play like this? I froze for a second. Who needs to be taught this? If it's fun, just do it. He gritted his teeth. How could you do this? What did I do wrong? He held back repeatedly before finally flicking his sleeve in frustration and storming off. Su Chen caught my arm just in time to prevent my fall, leaving me weak-kneed as I slumped onto the table. That night, I fiddled with everyone's sword tassels. Humph, who could resist Her Highness's charms? Su Chen's words carried an icy edge, sounding anything but complimentary. A sudden thought struck me, and I edged closer skeptically. Wait, are you actually jealous of me? He sat by the table, arms crossed over his sword with a stony expression, offering no reply. My curiosity piqued. I dragged my stool next to him and started poking at his face and shoulders daringly. Your Highness, Crown Prince, brother, big bro, tell me please, MMPH. My reaching hand was suddenly yanked back as an arm wrapped around my waist, forcing my upper body flush against Su Chen's chest while his lips crushed mine. Su Chen maintained his composed facade, yet his kiss burned wilder than mine. His teeth grazed my lip, making me flinch away as he growled hoarsely, you're forbidden from playing with anyone else's sword tassels. Panting breaths still tangled between us. I traced his jawline with a smirk. Oh dear, had I known His Highness felt this way, I'd have pinned you down right in the Eastern Palace. Oh really? My feet suddenly left the ground as he scooped me up bridal style. Here's your chance to pay me back double. What began as eager anticipation quickly turned to regret. I meant I'll execute you on the spot, not you executing me. I get it now. I get it. I'll never play with anyone else's sword tassels again. Only wear the hairpin from Brother Crown Prince. I was wrong. Su Chen, be gentle. I lay panting heavily against Su Chen's chest. He held me tighter. I looked up. Speaking of which, when did you get so strong? You took down Su Weining with a single strike. He lifted a strand of my hair and pressed a gentle kiss to it. You two aren't the only ones who've been reborn in this world. I bolted upright in bed. I'd been worrying about how to protect Su Chen while Su Rui retained memories from his past life. Now things just got easier. But Su Rui's Yuzhou cavalry remains invincible. Their reputation as phantom warriors is well earned. I slumped back down with a gloomy expression. Su Chen caught me in his arms and gently stroked my hair. Your Highness did leave yourself an escape route, didn't you? What? Run away with me? Be my partner till death do us part. After a brief hesitation, I replied. Why not? Ow, why'd you flick me? He withdrew the finger that had flicked my forehead. No, why not? He looked at me. You can't live like that. I froze as he pulled me into a tight embrace. I want us paired like mandarin ducks, but not for you to serve as my maid. So he'd actually overheard all those things I'd said about him. I burst out laughing. Just kidding, messing with you. With that, he sprang up, drew the sword resting by the bedside, and casually twirled it with practiced ease. I was once your equal in swordsmanship. Before we become fugitives or soul-bound lovers, let's turn this chaotic world upside down first. Su Rui's Yuzhou cavalry reigned supreme, but Su Chen's Qingzhou troops, who once routed rebel forces, were equally fearless to the death. Above all else, absolute obedience to Su Chen is paramount. These suicidal killing machines clashed with Su Rui's Yuzhou cavalry, creating a deadlock on the battlefield. Yet when it came to commanding subordinates, Su Rui paled in comparison to Su Chen. Gradually, signs of disintegration began to show among the Yuzhou cavalry. Su Chen's side couldn't even plant a single spy, highly unusual, extremely abnormal. Su Rui isn't the type to flee at the first sign of trouble. In recent battles, the Yuzhou cavalry would flee whenever possible, and their numbers keep dwindling. Su Chen and I are about to reach the capital. At this rate, Su Rui won't stand a chance of restoring the kingdom, let alone claiming the throne, yet he doesn't seem the least bit concerned. That day, I received a confidential letter. Just as Su Chen returned from military affairs and opened the door, I hastily concealed the letter. What's wrong? He looked at me inquisitively. My fingers tightened around the letter beneath the table, and nothing much. I might need to go home for a bit. His gaze flickered briefly under the table before he turned to pour 2 cups of tea. Missing your family? Yeah. I crumpled the letter and tucked it away. He glanced at me, placed a cup of tea before me. I'll go with you. No need. I grabbed my sword and stood up. I'm leaving now. You should focus on military affairs. We've fought all the way to the capital. If you come with me this time, you might never get another chance like this. Xiao. He frowned. I patted his shoulder. Don't worry. I'll be right back. You stay safe here. I'll be waiting for your good news. He turned to bolt, only to have his wrist seized in an iron grip. Xiao. His brows darkened with unspoken intensity. What's wrong? I felt a pang of guilt. He stood up and wrapped his cloak around me. Don't catch cold. Make it quick. I raced back to my clan without stopping. Miles away, the imperial capital of our clan was ablaze with towering flames. Warhorses came galloping as countless commoners fled headlong in the opposite direction. I grabbed one by the arm. What's happening? Su Rui and the Yuzhou troops are slaughtering people. I sprinted all the way. When I reached our old home, it was already engulfed in flames. Through the inferno, I saw figures standing amidst the fire. As I ran closer, the first thing that met my eyes was grandfather's throat being slit by Su Rui's blade. Grandfather. My scream tore through the air like shattered glass. Su Rui flung Old Man Wing to the ground like discarded trash, pivoting with bloodied sword in hand. The firelight danced in his cold eyes as he stood motionless. Xiao, so you finally decided to return. Cradling Old Man Wing's lifeless body, I saw dozens kneeling behind Su Rui and his guards, my parents, uncles, young nephews among them, bound together by ropes. Father and mother cried out, "Shower, why did you come back? Run." I stood frozen, glaring at Su Rui. What are you doing? He planted his foot on his uncle's corpse, wiping the blade clean on the still unstained portion of the dead man's clothing. Then he tilted my chin up with the sword's tip. Simple. Do one thing for me, and I'll let them go. What? Brother Su Chen, bring me your head. I clenched my teeth. He laughed. Don't look at me like that. You're the ones who drove me to this. His blade glides lightly across my face. Qiao, my Qiao. How devoted you once were, willing to sustain my dying breath with the very essence of your heart's blood, yet how swiftly you've changed allegiance. You stand by my brother's side with the same unwavering resolve you once reserved for me. How could you just leave me behind? I knocked his sword away. Enough. You love Wen Yin. Fine, marry her then. Wasn't wandering the world with her your greatest dream? You got what you wanted. So what are you doing now? Why must you still come bothering me? Her. Su Rui's eyes darkened. There's no need to mention her anymore. What do you mean? He looked at me with amusement. Doesn't matter. I'm more curious whether you'll accept my terms. I sneered. Then kill me if you refuse. Shaking his head with amusement, he released me. Why would I ever harm you? The long sword thrust forward, plunging deep into Mother's chest. Mother's body swayed unsteadily as she looked at me, whispering with trembling lips, Xiao. Then she collapsed face first onto the ground. Mother, do it, Su Rui commanded icily. No. With a loud cry, I dropped to my knees beside Mother with a thud, watching her lifeless body as tears streamed down my face. Don't lay a hand on. I promise. When I returned to Su Chen's place, he was waiting for me at the door. I had a feeling you'd come back today. He took hold of my horse's reins. How are mother and father? They're doing well. I nodded absently, my gaze unfocused. He leaned in. What's wrong? Under his concerned gaze, I nearly threw myself into his arms to sob my heart out to tell him mother, father, and uncle were all gone, but in the end, I only managed a strained smile. Let's talk inside. All right. He gripped my hand and led me inside. My other hand stealthily moved to my sword, fingers tightening around the hilt. The new guard at the entrance stopped me. Halt, leave your sword. I froze. This is my wife, Su Chen said gravely, startling the guard who immediately dropped to his knees. I shook my head. It's nothing. As the door closed, Su Chen turned away to pour me tea. A lot happened while you were gone. Things just weren't the same without you. I gave a quiet chuckle, my eyes fixed on his retreating back. I know this terrain like the back of my hand, could make a clean getaway the moment things go south. He's got his back to me right now. One clean shot is all it'd take if I wanted him dead, but once he turns around, that's when things get tricky. Only get one shot at this. My trembling hand drew the sword slightly from its scabbard, but, swish, the long sword left its scabbard, but it wasn't me. Su Chen, who was pouring tea, suddenly spun around. The cold gleam of his waist sword came flashing toward me. We've been spotted. I swiftly drew my sword and thrust straight forward. His blade whistled past my ear. My sword aimed directly for his Adam's apple. Bang, bang, my sword lodged into the doorframe as a corpse collapsed behind me. Yao. Su Chen leaned against the wall, a lock of hair by his ear severed by my blade. Behind me lay the corpse of Yozhou's shadow guard, who had been hiding in the rafters unnoticed. Yao. Su Chen called my name again, though without reproach in his voice. Why didn't you dodge? My hand trembled as it gripped the sword hilt. Why did you dodge? Because I'm going to kill you. He looked at me. But it was your blade that came thrusting. If I hadn't swerved last second, you'd be dead by now. He chuckled darkly. The one I've claimed could grind my bones to dust if it pleased her. You. I punched him square in the chest, my whole body going limp with weakness. Ah Chiao. He pulled me into his embrace, burying my face against his chest. My tears soaked through his undershirt. Mother's gone. Grandfather and uncle too. His arms tightened around me as he gently stroked my back. I know everything. Then why did you let me in? Why didn't you take my sword? If that's your choice, I'll help you. Tears fell as I whispered, I'm hurting so much. He held me tighter. After a moment's thought, he spoke softly. Yao, do you trust me? I looked up. What? If you trust me, let me give it a try. I waited indoors till dusk. The guards came to report and escorted me to Su Chen's quarters. Crimson sun sinks o'er the desert, rolling sand surged forth. Countless armored warriors stood arrayed across the barren wastes, their black armor gleaming. At their forefront stood a figure clad in fiery red, sword in hand, the other arm behind his back. The 100,000 troops of Qingzhou stand ready for your inspection, my lady. I swung off my horse and grabbed him by the collar. What the hell are you doing? He looked at me gently. Helping you. You're about to enter the capital and ascend the throne. How can you fool around at such a crucial moment? He gently grasped my hand. I'm not fooling around. Enough. I pushed him away. Gather your men and march on the capital immediately. I'll handle father's side myself. He shook his head with a smile. Not advisable. Are you disobeying me now? Of course not. Just say the word, and 100,000 troops will march to reinforce the chieftain immediately. I was beside myself with rage. Miss this chance, and you may never rule the Central Plains in your lifetime. Then let's be fugitives together. I choked up. He gently took my hand. I want to conquer the world with you. But, enough said, my mind's made up. The wind chimes the glass beads on my hairpin into a crystalline melody. Gritting my teeth, I flung my hand aside. If we fail, I'll die by your side. The longsword flashed from its scabbard. Move out. Upon returning to the clan. The Yuzhou cavalry found themselves locked in fierce combat with Qingzhou troops. Su Chen and I went to see Su Rui. Seeing us, Su Rui shook his head with a wry smile. Ah Chiao. I told you to bring me his head, not the man himself. Tisk, who'd have thought my royal brother would abandon the capital within his grasp just to deal with an insignificant pawn like me? Shut your mouth. Su Chen drew his longsword as Su Rui countered with his own blade. The two swords clashed with a metallic ring. Seizing the opportunity, I freed our captive clansman before grabbing my sword to reinforce Su Chen. But when I arrived, I was completely dumbfounded. The two were locked in combat, moving like lightning. I couldn't even find an opening to intervene, yet I could clearly see Su Chen was losing ground. How is this possible? Su Rui's swordsmanship used to be inferior to mine, yet now he's overwhelming Su Chen. Suddenly, my heart skipped a beat. This wasn't the sword technique Master Shangjing taught at all. It resembled those long-lost forbidden moves of demonic swordsmanship. In his past life, to ascend the throne, he'd dabbled in every dark art and righteous path imaginable. He even unearthed my clan's ancient secret technique that had been lost for generations. But I remember, this forbidden ritual requires the blood of one's beloved as sacrifice. Without the blood donor, it's nearly impossible for others to counter his technique. Come to think of it, I haven't seen my sister since the royal wedding. My heart skipped a beat, and I almost lost my footing. My fists clenched as I saw Su Chen covered in wounds. If these were demonic sword techniques, Su Chen stood no chance of winning. Dear elder brother, the supreme swordsman of our realm, how could you possibly lose to a mere rogue cultivator like me? Su Rui sneered, murderous intent flashing in his eyes. Fine then. Once you're dead, Aqiao will be mine. Su Chen raised his sword barely in time to block, but Su Rui kept pressing the blade downward, inching it closer to his throat. His parrying arm trembled violently. Aqiao, isn't some trophy, ha, if I can have her. What's wrong with taking her by force? Move. I charged forward with my sword drawn. The moment Su Rui saw me, his pupils contracted sharply. He's scared. Indeed, my sister and I share blood ties. If anyone here can counter his moves, it's got to be me. But after all, this isn't the real deal. If we force our way through, mutual destruction would be the best outcome, still better than watching Su Chen get beaten to death. Su Rui, you'll join my clansmen in death. My blade moved with unnatural precision as I charged forward recklessly. This strike would send us both to the underworld. Qiao. I heard Su Chen's heart-wrenching scream, but I couldn't stop now. He mustn't die. Su Rui's sinister eyes curved into a dangerous smile, then with a metallic clang, he discarded his sword, letting my blade sink into his chest without resistance. I stared at him in disbelief. He collapsed to his knees with a loud thud. So you've noticed? His lips curled into a smirk, dark blood staining the corners. Why didn't you dodge? I frowned. He looked up. Why hide? My days were numbered anyway. What did you say? I frowned. Aqiao. Know why my poison vanished overnight? Because I used forbidden arts that steal lifespan and guarantee a wretched death. My breath caught. He laughed aloud. In our past life, after you died, I exhausted every means to remember you. I wanted to collect everything about you, even your clan's secret arts. I've always dreamed of some miraculous way to raise the dead, to restore flesh to bones and bring you back to this world, but there isn't. Nothing at all. Thankfully, fate gave me a second chance. I sacrificed my past love, sacrificed myself, all just to gamble for you. But, ha 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 ha. Su Rui laughed until tears streamed down his face. Who would have thought? Imperial brother, you never hated her at all. I've calculated heaven, earth, men, and ghosts, yet I misjudged your feelings for her. Su Chen hastily pulled me into his protective embrace, still laughing hysterically. Su Rui trembled as he drew the sword tassel from his waist. I had hoped that in my fleeting days, we could be husband and wife again, if only for a single day. But Aqiao, in this lifetime, I've ultimately failed to keep you. His trembling hand rose weakly, as if trying to drape the sword tassel upon my hairpin, yet his strength failed him. The tassel slipped into the pool of blood. He collapsed to his knees and drew his last breath. Upon opening Su Rui's chamber, the shriveled corpse of his sister assaulted his vision. No wonder she'd vanished after the wedding ceremony. It appeared she'd been completely drained of blood on her wedding day. Given Su Rui's temperament, he'd have killed her even if she'd survived. She was the only one who could counter his techniques. Su Chen and I regrouped Su Rui's Yuzhou cavalry and launched another assault against the rebels in Shangjing. The combined forces unexpectedly unleashed tremendous combat power. Before long, the capital fell as Su Chen stormed the imperial city. The realm was settled, with all lands bowing in submission. On the coronation day, I jingled the phoenix crown before the bronze mirror like a child's toy. He chuckled helplessly. Aqiao, that's not how one treats a royal headdress. Huh, but this is so much fun. He let out a soft sigh. I turned back. What's wrong? Doesn't it look good? Shaking his head with a smile, he picked up the eyebrow pencil to trace my brows. My Aqiao is peerless under heaven.